It's the last Republican debate before the crucial New Hampshire primary. Donald Trump, coming off a second-place finish in Iowa, is hoping to hold on to his lead in New Hampshire. But he's facing a recent surge from Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Katrina Pearson is national spokeswoman for the Donald Trump campaign, and she's with us now from Manchester. Katrina, I want to show you some numbers from the latest poll of New Hampshire voters. In a CNN poll, New Hampshire poll that ended February 1st, 31% of voters said they would not vote for Donald Trump. But in a poll that ended February 4th, 37% of voters said that they would not vote for Mr. Trump. What's changed in the days since Iowa?
Well, I think what's happening, Elaine, is as the election gets closer in each state, the polls start to tighten and people start to make up their minds. These are probably people who may like Marco Rubio after his surge in Iowa, or people that maybe have decided on another candidate. But what we do know is Mr. Trump is also leading on who will vote for Donald Trump, and we're really excited to be here in New Hampshire. This is a much different state than Iowa. It's more tailor-made. It's live free or die, and that fits Mr. Trump quite well.
Katrina, your campaign has touted Mr. Trump's second-place finish in Iowa as a success, but a Montclair University poll just out says that 1 in 4 of Mr. Trump's supporters didn't even show up to caucus. Is that still a success?
Well, it's absolutely a success considering all the shenanigans that we know happened in Iowa, and for Mr. Trump to do as well as he did. There are a lot of first-time goers. The Secretary of State was called because they couldn't find their locations. So we know some of them wanted to and didn't quite make it out. And, you know, I do consider it a success considering what we have seen happen on the ground.
That could have made a difference, though, it would seem. How confident are you about your ground game in New Hampshire?
Well, very confident. This is a little bit different than a caucus. You actually just go and you vote. You don't have to sit and wait and hear several different speeches before you cast your ballot, which is very different than Iowa, like a caucus. We have a lot of excitement here in New Hampshire. A lot of voters are ready to get out there. They're lined up outside right now, and we're just really excited. The ground game is strong here, still calling, still phone banking. Mr. Trump has added events to the schedule, doing a lot of more retail politicking, not taking anything for granted.
What's the most important thing Mr. Trump is going to be doing? What's the message tonight as he makes his final case to the voters of New Hampshire?
Tonight, Mr. Trump's message is going to be identifying who he is and what he wants to do to make America great again. That sets him separate from the other candidates on the stage. Mr. Trump has always talked about funding his own campaign and not being able to be bought, when several of the candidates on that stage are actually funded by global banks and transnational corporations, and that's very important to the folks in New Hampshire.
I also just wanted to ask you one last question, Katrina, about some of the focus for Mr. Trump, at least on social media, has been on Iowa and what's taken place there. As you mentioned, obviously you're taking issue with some of the things that took place there. How much of that is wasted energy, though? Is that an opportunity to perhaps that is missed, to focus on what's ahead rather than spending time looking backwards?
Well, that's a great question, because another thing that's important to Republican primary voters moving forward, particularly in the general election, is when we do have these types of shenanigans at the polls, whether it's ballot integrity or even voter integrity for that matter. Something that's not being talked about that happened in Iowa is that anyone could have voted. You didn't have to show ID, you didn't have to register, so if a campaign bussed in thousands of people, they likely voted in that caucus. So bringing attention and awareness to these types of things is very important among Republican voters, because if we're going to try to hold Democrat counties available when 125% and dead voters turn out, we got to be able to hold our own accountable as well.
Katrina Pearson, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Elaine.